Was it the Russians?
Yeah, no, it's I don't know if it was the Russians or not. Nobody knows who did it.
Of course,
you know how the banks are; they don't care.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to figure out how banking information gets used on Facebook or found.
Well, no, it's what it is they find out like your relationships and your family and all that other stuff, and those are questions that the banks ask you. And the only place as I had that information was on Facebook.
Yeah, so I won't share that information with anybody online.
Yeah, and so what had originally compromised me was the Office of Personnel Management of the United States government had my information, not because I worked for the U.S. government directly, but because at one time I had, and that, you know, and I had a security clearance in order to do certain like navigation things with NATO or something dumb like that, right? It's not that I had access to the nuclear codes or anything.
No, but anyone with former military backgrounds on record anyways.
Exactly. And so, of course, they had my social security number and everything like that. So it started with that. Name, social security number. That's enough.
They got me on what they call supplementary reserve list. And basically how it works is after you're done your term of service, doesn't matter if you're a reservist or regular Army or whatever, when you're done your term of service, you go on what they call the supplementary reserve file. But you have to volunteer for it, of course. You don't have to go on supplementary service, but most guys will anyway.
They'll just do it anyway, yeah.
You know, and say, sure, why not? You know, that means basically up till about the age of 65, I can be called back for any reason.
And well, in case anybody invades Canada, you know.
Yeah, who wants to invade? Ain't nothing but a frozen wasteland anyways. And,
you know. I know. Nobody's going to be invading. You're in good shape.
Yeah, nobody wants to invade your ice cubes, you know. But too many muzzies up here, too. Yeah.
You know,
I know.
I was a big issue with that.
I say we need to annex Mexico and take those oil fields down there and export a little democracy. The Mexican people would love to have us. I know they do.
Well, the worst thing here is these politically correct politicians and social justice types like Mr. Trudeau and the gang have pretty much purposely sabotaged any development of the Gateway pipeline from Alberta to the BC coast and whatnot. We got markets. We got more oil than we know what to do with. We sell it to the U.S. for bargain basement because it's coming out of our cahuza. And, you know, it's Canadian oil is far more secure than fucking, say, Saudi oil.
Yeah.
And, like, the fucking liberals just throw a wrench into everything. And then we got this environment minister named Catherine McKenna. We call her Climate Barbie. You can look it up on YouTube, Climate Barbie. Have a good fucking laugh. She is a total fucking ditz. And she's part of the Prime Minister's all feminine fucking whatever equality
cabinet. All-female cabinet. Yeah.
And every one of them is a complete fucking tool, whether it's Carol Bennett in Aboriginal Affairs or Climate Barbie, Catherine McKenna in Environment, and now the she has been doing nothing but bad-mouthing Trump and the U.S. since the NAFTA negotiations.
That's all anybody does anymore. That's the only political stance you can have is fuck Trump. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that? Fuck Trump. That's it.
She told me I think I'm going to vote for him twice next time. What the hell? Fuck them.
They talked me into voting. I used to never vote, but now I'm going to fucking vote for Trump. I'm just like I'm all in now. I used to be kind of tepid about Trump, but now I'm like, fuck, let's do it. Let's keep going.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump is not the be-all and end-all, and he's nowhere. If he were half as right-wing as they think he is, they'd all be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, real right-wing totalitarians kill their adversaries. They don't complain about them. They just disappear them.
Well, they confuse nationalism with right-wing. And that's a mistake. You can be nationalist and be still pretty liberal. Nationalism is just pride in your country, your own borders, your own interests before other countries' interests. That's all nationalism is.
Well, yeah, China and Japan are both very nationalistic countries. Israel is very racially nationalistic.
Well, yeah.
These are obviously not far right-wing regimes.
Well, here's another thing people don't take into account either. The liberals that we call liberals today are actually left.
You get plenty of left-wingers accusing Israel of genocide and all that stuff, though.
Well, there's a few, but thankfully there's been a few laws passed to make it so that if you try to divest from Israel, you get in trouble.
The thing, like, let's face it, the liberals today are not really liberals at all. They're just left.
Oh yeah, they're commies.
Liberals were just as patriotic as the Republicans or the GOP. Same here in Canada. They used to.
Oh yeah, liberals used to be. I don't agree with what you say, but I will die for your right to say it. Peace, love, man. Why can't we just all get along, man? I mean, that's what liberals used to be. Just leave me alone, man, and we should all just like take care of each other, man. And now it's some weird version of everyone's a pearl clutching grandmother from the 1920s.
Yeah.
Everything's a moral panic anymore.
Now the liberals are just a bunch of social Marxists that kiss George Soros' ass all the time.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Well, but if you see that, then you're a conspiracy theorist and you're going to get kicked off the internet, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So
they're taking some pretty berating comments. But anyhow, one of the funny things is that Mr. Ford, the Premier of Ontario, decided that he was going to reform Toronto City Council. They have 23 federal MPs. They have 23 provincial MPPs. And yet they got 48 council seats for a city of less than roughly 3 million people, whereas Los Angeles has way more people and they only got like 20 some odd council seats. Not even that, 15.
Wow.
Anyways, $40 million a year to run Toronto City Council and a few other choice municipalities, including Ottawa. And so Ford has decided to go ahead and knock their seats down, to bring down the size of their governments. And they went fucking banal on them. So some social justice liberal judge overrode and struck down his push, and basically decided against the Ontario government under Ford. Not surprisingly, because we got a lot of these so-called activist judges.
Right.
And Ford turned around and said, fine, fuck you then. I'll just use the notwithstanding clause, which is section 33 of the Canadian Charter and Constitution, where if it's something that's for the good of the people, or largely, has a measure of, the good of the people, any decision by the judge can be struck down and overridden, and the province can go ahead with it. Which in this case it would be, because it's going to save taxpayers $40 million a year over the course of 4 years. Now the lefties in Toronto are bitching that, oh, well, they shouldn't have done this until after the election, which is next month, October. And I'm saying, no, he should have done it. Well, them are saying he's doing it wrong. He should have gone to the courts and launched an appeal. Yeah, but by the time the appeal goes through, it's already after the election. It'll be too late then to do any cutting. And the people in Toronto are going to get plundered for another 40 million 5 times over till whenever the next municipal elections come along. So Ford said, fuck it. He invoked the notwithstanding clause and pissed them out. Now the lefties are all pissed off and saying, this is unheard of. This is against democracy. This is gonna.
They only like democracy when it agrees with what they want.
I was just thinking that. It's like, now they care about democracy, sure.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with it. It's called, no, you can't wait till October, because if you do, then the people are going to be stuck with $40 million times 5.
Well, these people have no idea what words are anymore. They think free speech is fascism.
Yeah, and nothing that he does, insofar as the notwithstanding clause, overrides charter rights. But these same people, these very same naysayers, are saying it's so wrong for Doug Ford to do it. Didn't have fuck all to say when Quebec used the notwithstanding clause. And I'll remind you, Quebec was not signatory to the Canadian Constitution Act of 1982. They refused to sign it. But they used the notwithstanding clause to a constitution they didn't even belong to fucking impose the no English sign laws in Quebec and Bill 101, which limited the use of English in Quebec. And but that's okay. They're not a peep. There are crickets. But Ford does something to scale down municipal politics and save the country some money, because the last premier just put us in such bad debt, it was ridiculous. $320 billion for roughly 14 million citizens here. And he's intolerant. He's taken away our constitutional rights and yada, 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 yada. He hasn't done a fucking thing except take control of the government.
Right.
Property, start scaling it down and cutting costs. But nobody said shit about Quebec using it for Bill 101 and the no English.
That's because they are unabashed with their double standards. When you deal with what we call the left these days, they just want to achieve something. How it's achieved doesn't really matter. A great example was gay marriage. When the people of California voted in a referendum to outlaw gay marriage, they just took it to the courts and had the courts get rid of that referendum because they wanted gay marriage.
And you know, the moment you suggest in any way that they should be decided by the legislature and not the Supreme Court, people lose their fucking mind. They equate a statement with it should have been passed legally through the law, then legislation from the bench. They equate that with, oh, you hate gay people.
Yeah,
that's the privilege of our political discourse right now. You can't even talk about these things.
Well, of course, now with Trump appointing a whole bunch of new and improved justices, it's highly likely we'll be seeing some new types of things coming off from the bench, and then all of a sudden they're going to want things to be legislation. It's just all about what they want, and you know, that's something that people, you know, on the right should actually look at. The objective is to win.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't win, nothing else matters. How you win doesn't matter, because if you win, you get to write the history books, right? And so that is something that the left understands, that the right has never understood, and which is what makes the right very good at losing. And the real thing that has them pissed off about Donald Trump is not that he's terribly right-wing. He's basically a 1960s era Democrat, right? He's not terribly right-wing at all. But because he believes the same things every Democrat in America believed in 1960, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he's not exactly the second coming of Uncle Adolf.
They've called Doug Ford everything.
Yeah.
Hitler, Trump clone. You name it, like nothing. If you watch Doug Ford speaking out on YouTubes and stuff like that, there is no resemblance to Trump whatsoever. He's a populist politician, and so far, he's actually done more in Ontario since he took office on June 29th than the Wynne government did in 15 years.
And well, that's what they hate about Trump, is that he's actually been willing to do something. Now, he hasn't kept his campaign promises, and he keeps blaming that on the Congress, that he has no wall, that he has no this. And I think that Trump is going to be in trouble if he can't start delivering on some of those promises to some degree. But it does show you, too, when you have a 5-4 majority in the Supreme Court, when you've got a majority in the Senate and a majority in the House and a Republican president, and you still don't have your fucking wall.
Yeah.
They're out of excuses, motherfucker. This shows that the emperor has no clothes, that for the most part, the Republicans get funded by the same damn people who fund the Democrats, and that they're serving a different master and just using different rhetoric in order to make it appear that we have a democracy.
Well, even up here, all the parties get a certain amount of funding from large businesses, corporations, unions.
Yeah.
And they kind of put one foot over the fence, but not entirely. What they do is they'll say, okay, well, the conservatives are governing right now, so we'll give them 40%.
Right.
And the opposition is liberal right now, so we'll give them about 30%. And then the socialist, or the Jacuzzi Communist Party, we call the NDP, we'll throw them, 20-something%, whatever. That way, if something goes wrong with the bigger one, then they can count on getting some influence with the smaller parties that came in after, because, well, we made a donation.
Well, of course. I mean, that explains why, for example, in 2008, when we had the big banking crisis, a bunch of people's houses went upside down, that they owed more on their mortgages than the houses were worth. I'm among them, and instead of people like me getting bailed out, what happened is every single bank got bailed out. All the insurance companies got bailed out. And that's because insurance companies and banks and all these guys pay all kinds of money to Democrats, all kinds of money to Republicans. And so they're going to get what they want.
Yep.
But when it comes to me, Well, I donate a little bit here or there, but
Sure.
it doesn't compare.
Well,
Right?
they'll always raise two that are too big to fail.
Well, yeah,
So,
but it's their
and I
fault they're
don't
too
believe
big to
that.
fail because we shouldn't be having trusts. The whole point of having anti-monopoly laws is that you should not have enterprises so big that they can hold the government hostage so that public policy is directed by a corporation.
Mhm.
That's why you bust the motherfuckers up.
Yeah. So kind
Well,
of brings me to what the EU is doing lately with Article 13. And
Now, what's that?
the EU's passed Article 13, which basically is supposedly to help the those who own copyrights not have their rights infringed upon. But
Yeah,
what it
memes.
basically amounts to is if you post a link to a news article or something that you didn't create, that you personally didn't make, if it's just a reference, if it's a meme or whatever, you have to have a license for that. And if you don't have a license for that, you can be fined.
Right.
And and what that's going to do is it's basically going to silence the internet. You're going to have text-only communication, and it can't be cut and paste text. It's going to have
Right, of course.
yeah, and it's going to shut down all kinds of news information because only the big, large news conglomerates are going to be able to play ball with this, and it's going to shut down a lot of the smaller voices. And so the EU is basically going to, break the internet. They're going to become more restrictive than communist China is right now.
I don't think that's going to work well for them. I think that's going to fail. The main reason it's going to fail is for the same reason that right now you can go to the eroticreview.com and book yourself a hooker. And the reason you can do that is because the Erotic Review sits in one jurisdiction while you sit in another jurisdiction. And the fact that you're in a jurisdiction where it's illegal, they would literally have to make everybody block that site for you to not be able to get to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you just get a VPN connection and you go there anyway, right? So there's not a damn thing they can do. And in practice, this is what's happening in the EU. They wanted to basically get rid of Pepe the Frog, and they got ham-fisted in order to get rid of the frog, and it's just not going to work.
Well, it's going to be a hell of bureaucracy.
Yeah. I'm sure you're familiar by now with our very articulate and well-spoken Professor Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah. He's okay.
He's not bad, but man, has he been fucking taking a hit because a bunch of his student supporters that were behind him, one of them was holding up a Pepe flag.
Yeah.
And they accused him of being an alt-right Nazi and whatnot. But the fact is, Mr. Peterson doesn't apply to any particular theology because he readily points out that when you start applying an ideology politically,
right,
you're going to do serious harm. And he's got a point. At one point, Parliament tried to pass a rule up here, which was Bill C-16, and if you did not use the proper gender pronoun when talking to, you could be charged with a hate crime.
Right.
And Peterson confronted them on the Senate hearing committees and laid it down on them. And he left the committee.
That was his whole claim to fame. That's what kind of skyrocketed him into the world spotlight.
He left them tied up in knots. And then he had an interview with some chick over in Britain on one of the BBC channels, and he put her place real quick.
Whatever her name was, and she kept trying to set him up, and he kept...
Yeah. And to no avail. And he finally looked at it and said, gotcha.
Yeah. That's still named on to this day. I don't think that chick is.
Oh, she just looked so fucking peeved.
Well, I mean, he understands where the rules are. Well, either written or unwritten.
Yeah. Well, he's a highly tenured professor at the University of Toronto in the Department of Psychology.
Right.
And that's what he does, clinical psychology.
Right.
And, he doesn't know everything, and at least he admits it.
Yeah.
He says, what puzzles me, like he says, I don't understand why, and he says it, he says, I still haven't figured this out. He says, why feminists have this love-in with Islam.
I can explain it. He's missing something fundamental. Most of what I would call leftism, and I'm not talking about the people like Hillary Clinton or someone like that who will use it as an avenue to power, but I mean your standard shrieking leftist is really a manifestation of what I would call a force of entropy. In other words, these are people who are against civilization, who want to tear everything down. They will use whatever means, they'll call it equality or whatever, but think of it this way. Everything liberalism does removes distinction. Okay? In other words, it's kind of like a compost pile where I put some cabbage and a dead squirrel and stuff like that. And 6 months from now, it all looks the same and you can't tell there was ever cabbage or dead squirrel in there, right?
Yeah. Well,
Liberal leftism is about turning the civilization into a compost pile. It's really about driving us back to primordial ooze. And feminism and bringing Islam here serve the same exact purpose.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Our prime minister is constantly preaching that we're a postmodernist society now. It's like, what? Fuck off. We're a post-nationalist society.
Well, you know, they're trying to push that everywhere, but it's getting resoundingly rejected. Like, you know, the whole phrase "get woke, go broke" is, you know, it's a thing for a reason. Every company that tries to embrace these progressive Marxist politics tanks, and it's you know, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Star Trek and Star Wars. It's already fucking ruined that. Star Wars. You told people 5 years ago that a Star Wars movie would lose money, they would laugh in your face. But they fucking made a movie where Star Wars lost $100 million. No one gives a fuck anymore. And that's just the one that, like, it gets a lot of talk because that's the one that a lot of people care about, and it got it into the mainstream what's happening. But they've done it for the last 10 years with Star Trek. They've done it for the last 20 years in the comic book industry. They've done it in everything that together, that people that normally wouldn't have political differences would come together to enjoy this mutual thing. Now they have to argue about politics because politics is in that thing that they both love. And it's a way of dividing people and destroying that common language. It goes hand in hand with exactly what you were saying about Muslims and feminism. It's the same thought process that says we need to go in and we need to tear this all down. Like, people are too happy. Wherever you see happy people, you see a SJW with a problem with it. And it's
big time.
Oh, these people are enjoying it. Well, there must be a problem. This is problematic somehow. Let me dig into it and find.
It's kind of funny in a perverse kind of way because obviously social justice warriors are atheists, but they're not atheists in the sense that, like, you might be an atheist, right? They might be atheists, but they have another religion, and they're all like church ladies, if you know what I mean. Like the church lady on the old Saturday Night Live. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody's enjoying something over here. It must be Satan. And you know,
oh my God, oh my stars and garters. Yes.
Oh, and in case you thought statue pulling down was a thing down in the U.S., like, you know, they're doing it up here now too. A handful of natives complained to Vancouver City Council because of the statue of Sir John A. Macdonald, who was Canada's first prime minister. In fact, he was responsible for starting the Canadian Confederation in the first place. Built the Canadian Pacific Railway that kept the Americans from advancing north, and boom, Canada was born. And part of the deal was to build a railway to the west to get British Columbia to sign on the Canadian Partnership. They decided he's racist because at the time he was in government, he started what was called, well, he didn't specifically start it, but under his government, the residential school system was developed. And the residential school system, it was wrong. I mean, let's make no quip about it. It was a bad thing, especially for natives, because what they do is that kids were, you know, in danger of not being properly looked after by their tribal elders or whatever, and they had a lot of issues with alcoholism and stuff like that. They take the kids and they put them in the residential school system. In fact, they pretty much just rounded up all native kids. And a lot of these residential schools weren't just run by the government, but they were also run by the churches, chiefly the Catholic Church and the Anglican Church.
Okay.
And they would try to basically get them to forget their old language, teach them English. And a lot of these kids ended up being sexually abused, beaten.
You had to do the sexual abuse part. I'm like, oh, they teach them English. That's great. But yeah.
Some of them ended up dead from trying to escape in the middle of winters and stuff like that.
Well, that sounds fun. You said they were Catholic, right?
What's that?
They were Catholic.
Who?
The religious aspect of the
Catholic and Anglican Church. Chief.
Oh wow, okay. Well, that's what they do apparently.
The predominating thing in Canada at the time was the Catholic and Anglican Church, and the government had some control of it, but I don't think that they entirely stood everything that was going on either. And now, I was only, believe it or not, a short time ago that they finally got rid of the residential school system. But anyhow, they're now saying that Sir Johnny MacDonald orchestrated genocide, which, for the mindset of the day, I thought that's probably the only thing that they thought was good, because there was a lot of problems with Native kids being abused, alcoholic parents, any number of things. So they thought maybe it was a merciful act to do that. Obviously, it wasn't. It had its problems, but so now the lefties and the social justice warriors are trying to pull Sir Johnny MacDonald statues down, and the Vancouver City Council started it based on a handful of people complaining, and that's it.
Well, they're doing that here in Austin. They're taking down all the Confederate statues.
Oh yeah.
They're renaming all this. They're renaming a bunch of fucking streets that were named after Confederate generals or people that were historical to Texas's independence, and renaming it. Stupid shit like Unity and Diversity Lane.
The problem is people today are trying to justify their actions using modern day morality versus old world morality.
Yeah.
The way people felt back in 1800s and how they feel today are
they're tilting
different things.
They're like, you got to go fight the racism of the past.
I can't judge a past event using modern day morality. Okay?
Well, the problem with what they're doing too is that they are creating what I would call almost a justified racism. By that I mean, if I take a bunch of people and I notice that they're black and I attack them for being black, sooner or later they're going to look at their skin and they're going to say, shit, I'm black, right? And this guy's attacking me for being black. Even if they were not aware or didn't give a shit that they were black before, by virtue of the fact that I have targeted them for that, they are eventually going to develop a response against me on the basis of their black identity. Well, the same applies to any other group, including people who are white. If you go to people who are white and you say, you suck because you're white, and I'm going to deny you this promotion because you're white, I'm going to deny you this spot in school because you're white, I am going to say you're an inferior person because you're white, eventually you'll look and say, oh, fuck, man, I'm white, even if you didn't give a shit before.
Whenever I hear Mr. Trudeau preaching diversity up here, to me that's code word for phase out the white guys.
Well, that's what it has become. It's not like if people were preaching diversity in Japan or in Israel or in Argentina, it would be one thing. But they're not. The only places they preach diversity are in countries that were founded by white people.
Right.
And the whole point of it is to make those countries less white. It's driven by two major goals. One is that you can predict voting patterns by demography. Most of the leftists want to replace white people mainly because people who are not white will vote reliably left and guarantee their power demographically. It has nothing to do with, it's not a specific hatred of white people, it's just a desire to retain power.
It's colossally insane what's going on at the Quebec-U.S. border. With the sudden mass of people coming in as if they're under threat or oppressed, not in the United States, for God's sake.
Immigration's a big issue here in Austin. They just love
it. They're flooding in. And
in Austin? You're in the most liberal place in
Texas.
Texas.
Fucking love immigrants here, dude. It's fucking stupid. The fucking city council is now saying that you shouldn't ask people for their driver's license when you pull them over because it's racist. It's affecting too many people of color. Like, for example, last month they released some data. There were 2,300 collisions in Austin in 2018 so far. 1,500 of them did not have valid driver's licenses. Now, why would so many people not have valid driver's license? I wonder.
So
they must be white people, you know, like they must all be from fucking Kansas. They must all be from Wisconsin, you know.
Well, the problem is this is going to backfire in two ways. The first way it's going to backfire is if you can't ask somebody for their driver's license because they're brown. 14th Amendment says you can't ask a white person for their license either. Pretty soon, nobody needs a driver's license, right?
Yeah.
And they fuck themselves up the ass hard, right?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too, right? But the other thing that happens is they start giving out driver's licenses to people who shouldn't have them, which means I get to walk into the DMV, give them a ginned up, matricula consular card that I printed off on my printer and laminated, right? And I say, my name is Juan Valdez. I want a driver's license, right? And they have to give it to me. And now I have a second ID.
Okay, see, Juan, you got good copy.
And suddenly their whole ability to enforce law goes out the door because I have 5 different identities, even though I'm, me.
Yeah. So anyways, Trudeau's letting these guys over the border by the fucking droves. The RCMP can do nothing except assist them. Right. And they're literally draining out military bases and all that shit in order to accommodate them with barracks. They're also putting out millions to put them in hotels and shit, and they expect the provinces to pick up the fucking tab. So Ford's saying, no fucking way. And no, there's going to be no carbon tax here. He scrapped the carbon tax in Ontario.
Good. Because the carbon tax is just a... It's a now. By the way, that's something Jordan Peterson favors. Jordan Peterson is big on this global warming stuff. People don't know it, but he did all the global warming shit for the UN.
Yeah.
Where you take the money, if you will, from first world nations and transfer it to the third world, and use a carbon tax as a way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, I can't expect to be perfect on everything, but
no.
But it's just.
But I'm glad that they scrapped the carbon tax because that's just a farce.
Ford scrapped it. Saskatchewan scrapped it. Alberta says as soon as we get rid of Notley and the Conservatives get back in, we'll scrap it. Prince Edward Island's refusing it now, and so is New Brunswick. And Trudeau's in a fucking tizzy now, along with Climate Barbie. His environment
Climate Barbie.
Yeah, that's what you can look it up on YouTube. Climate Barbie. She is such a fucking ditz. She fits the dumb blonde thing absolutely. Oh, and she's a big fucking feminist too.
Of course.
Her and the trade minister, Chrystia Freeland, who's fucked up the NAFTA deal. And back to the Sir John A. thing. So the politically correct mayor of Vancouver had the Sir John A. Macdonald statue taken down, and Doug Ford got up and said, "Well, here, sell it to us. We'll put it out in the front of Queen's Park."
Well, it was time for the NAFTA deal with Canada to get screwed anyway, because what was happening was Canada was importing cheap steel out of China and then stamping "Made in Canada" on it and dumping it into the U.S.
Absolutely.
There's no reason we should treat Canada any different than we do China, because they've become an extension of China.
Oh, no, I back Trump on this. Well, that's not where it all started, though. It started during the economic summit in Montreal. Barely did Trump get off the fucking runway. Trudeau was shooting off his big mouth, acting like a big boy. We'll put it is crap, and stuff like that, and more or less belittling him. And Trump caught wind of it or something, and he thought, "All right, you little fucker. I was nice to you. I offered some good concessions and that would have been more in your favor, and you're fucking me over behind my back. Well, okay, we'll see how this works." And Trump was absolutely right. And he is correct in saying that it's a national security issue, because Canada is well known for making top quality defense steel.
Right.
When that defense steel, when Americans buy that steel from us, and I know because I used to haul a lot of it down to the U.S. for everything from their armored personnel carriers to their M1 Abrams, ship hauls, everything. When we haul that steel down there, they expect top quality steel for the defense projects.
Right.
If they're getting inferior Chinese steel that's been relabeled Canadian, then it does become a security concern.
Of course.
And not only that, it's dumping. And dumping is one against most trade rules, whether it's NAFTA or the former FTA or whatever. 2, it hurts steel workers both in Canada and the United States.
Exactly.
The other contention, we have marketing boards up here that dictate the supply and demand on milk and dairy products.
Yeah.
And up here, we pay an outrageous amount for, a gallon of milk or a fucking pound of butter is like $5.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be half that. When I go across the board in the US and get butter for less than $2 a pound in a lot of cases, or, good gallon of milk for maybe a few bucks. But the dairy cartels, we call them dairy cartels, but they're milk marketing boards, basically limit the supply that farmers can produce, and the
Right.
government offsets their costs by giving a little bit more to make up for the shortfall. But the
Right.
truth is, the marketing board is what's keeping the prices artificially high. And if they can't get the price they want on the open market, they take all the surplus and they just dump it. Goes
Right.
into the waste landfill or dump or whatever. So all that food going to waste because they can't get the price that they want. They won't give it to a third world country for some stupid reason or another. I don't
Right.
know. And not only that, he put initially a 290% tariff on U.S. dairy products, which is another big no-no under NAFTA.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a reciprocity agreement. Reciprocity means an equal amount of goods of equal value cross over the borders back and forth uh, without punitive tariff or duty.
Right.
It's a tit for tat exchange. I'll take so much of your Canadian oil, you send me so much U.S. oranges or whatever, and no tariffs, no duties, and we'll have certain quotas on steel so that everybody gets their fair share of distribution. Same with the automotive sector. In fact, the Auto Pact was the first free trade deal we ever had, and it kept the cost of a car down considerably.
Oh, yeah,
Otherwise,
sure.
you'd be paying thousands more now to buy a car. And now our fucking liberal government just screws it right up. And I'm as far as I'm concerned, if and when this gets to tribunal, anyways, Trump's going to win
Well, of
because he's
course.
right. He is
Well,
absolutely spot on.
that's the price of virtue signaling. And one of the things that I think they're hating about Trump is that he's exacting a price for it. Virtue signaling has always been free. It's been effortless virtue. I can claim to be a wonderful person. It's kind of like, again, like the church lady, kind of like a misconstrued Christianity. I'm good because of what I believe. It's the same basic thing. I am good because of what I believe. Well, now they're saying something that they believe, and it's costing them something. Yeah. It's no longer effortless. It's no longer costless. It's no longer something where they get a gain without spending something. Trump made it so that Trudeau can virtue signal all he wants as long as he understands that's going to extract the price.
Well, the other thing too is that Trudeau's government, when he took office a few years back, he was told to stop the practice.
Yeah.
Immediately. And he just continued to ignore it and let it keep going on.
Yeah.
Right. And got to remember too, it's not the steel makers in Canada that are imposing this stunt of relabeling Chinese steel and shipping it over into the U.S. and whatnot. It's the warehousing operations that do it.
Right. And this is being done with the blessing of the Canadian government.
Yeah. And well, the government's choosing to ignore what is obviously banned under trade arrangements. And like I said, it's called dumping, and it's illegal. Right. And it hurts our domestic workers. It hurts your workers. It leaves you with an inferior product for building defense items and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's national security. The liberals here just don't get that. And
they don't believe there's such a thing as a nation. They don't, so therefore the whole concept of a nation needing security makes no sense to them.
No borders. Guys, we should just give hugs to everybody. Like that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lady. Have you guys seen her?
Oh, she's awesome, huh?
I tell some people up here, I says, you know what? Sorry, but on this one, I have to agree with Trump. Oh, you ought to hear some of the flack I fucking take. Oh, you're one of those fucking Trump-loving fucking idiots. I says, you know something? Whether I like Trump or not, it's not the point. The point is, he's right.
Yeah. Right is right.
Right is right.
Yeah, Ocasio-Cortez is a nut.
She's fucking crazy, and I hope the Democrats keep putting her out there because that's the surest way to lose everything.
Her and Maxine Waters.
She's the party. Let it be true. But no one can take her seriously.
I'll give you another thing too here, Brutus. Back, it seems like the government has an addiction to marketing boards and dairy cartels and apple cartels and whatever here on the eastern half of Canada. But Western Canada has always operated differently, and they already abhor the Eastern government anyhow, because they're more free market than the East, and they're more closer to the U.S. than the East is.
Right.
So if you want a conservative territory, go to Western Canada from Manitoba and beyond. But out west, back a number of years ago, the government cut the rate out on railway shipping of grain to ports and markets for the farmers. So the farmers turned around and said, okay, well, fuck you then. We'll just transport it ourselves and we'll trash our wheat marketing board. And they did just that. They trashed their wheat marketing board, and now they're getting fucking profits like they've never seen before. And I mean, Saskatchewan is literally the breadbasket of the world, literally.
Yeah.
And they're now selling more grain for less cost and making up for the difference in volume of sale.
Right. That's awesome for them.
And they're better off. And now the farmers are starting to realize some real income and are able to get better, more modern combines and shit like that. And they're doing okay. But meanwhile, back here in the East, the dairy farmers are limited. They say, oh, well, at least if you get $68,000 a year, you're doing okay. And it's kind of like, what? Costs a lot more than that to run a fucking farm. Sure, even with write-offs, but then that means the government's subsidizing you somewhere. And to overcharge, like $5 for a fucking pound of butter, or like Sheila and I buy 2% milk. If I do some cooking, I like to use homo milk, but for what you call whole milk.
Right.
And I heard people say, well, the U.S. product is so inferior to ours. Ours is so much better, and we don't use those hormones. I go, oh, horse shit. I know lots of dairy farmers, and yes, they do that too.
Yeah.
And you know what? I used to spend 80% of my working life in the U.S., and I've had milk all over the United States because I love a fresh glass of milk. And quite frankly, I find some of the American product even better than ours because it's not over-processed. And it would not bother me at all to be able to buy Mayfair or other U.S.-type dairy products or whatever off the Canadian shelves if I so choose to do that. I have a choice as a consumer. If I'm so patriotically Canadian, I'll buy a fucking Canadian jug of milk. If I don't really care either way, I'm going to grab the most reasonable cost product that's there. And if that's a bottle of Mayfair milk from the U.S. or something like that, fine. I'll buy
I would call it patriotism within reason. By that, I mean, I am certainly more prone, given the choice, to buy an American product than I am to buy, something made someplace else.
Yeah.
But
Canada has no reason to cut out the U.S. dairy, and the reason is this. Canada produces enough dairy in this country, and we send it around the world anyways.
Right.
So it's not like they're really losing any business or they're going to miss out on a chunk of the market or something like that. They're going to hold their own anyways.
Well, dairy has a limited market in the world anyway.
Right now, Sheila and I pay $4.27 for a gallon of milk.
That's a lot.
That's just 2%.
Wow.
That's not even whole milk. All right.
Well, I'm lactose intolerant, so I have no idea what a gallon of milk costs.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, we only use it for like tea and cereal and stuff, but and typically I'll use milk in cooking and stuff like that. But other than that, but I do once in a while. I like to go out and buy myself a carton of milk off the shelf cold and go.
Yeah, I mean, the government clearly interferes in agricultural markets, but also agricultural markets have become commodity markets, which is in and of itself kind of a problem, because think of it this way. If I'm selling beans, and beans are just beans, right? Okay, I have no motive to make my beans any better than the next guy's beans, because in terms of the commodity market, they're just beans. It's kind of like if you go to trade in a car, at least in America, you go to trade in a car, it's a 1997 Chrysler Cordoba. I don't know if they made it in 97, but we'll pretend, right? Okay, if I've got a Chrysler Cordoba with X miles on it and another Chrysler Cordoba with X miles on it, it doesn't matter if the one that I brought into the dealership I maintained meticulously, there's not a scratch or a dent on it, I vacuumed it religiously, and the other one, there might be $50 difference in price. It's just the 1997 Chrysler Cordoba, right?
Right.
Well, the same thing with beans, which means my objective when I sell beans is to spend the least I can on them, because the only place I'm going to make my money is by cutting my costs, right? So I'm going to bring in illegal immigrant labor, and I'm going to foist the cost of making sure that they can feed and be cared for and everything off on the taxpayers and all this, everything I can do to cut costs. I'm going to use toxic chemicals if I can get away with it, if they're cheaper than the non-toxic kind, et cetera, in order to make those beans. Whereas if you do it on a community basis, a community farmer might charge more for it, but all of his costs are included in that price.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so you're getting a higher quality product because he is in business. His face is out there. You know who he is. And if he sells you something that hurts you, his ass is grass.
But Brutus, we need cheap beans because we need a good source of natural gas.
No, I know you Canadians have all the gas we need.
Plenty more. We got 10,000 years worth of the stuff that we don't know what to do with.
You got more gas than you know what to do with.
Yeah, and water. Yeah.
And now since you're plenty of Mexicans, you're going to have even more gas.
And anything else they can cram in. But yeah, no, our government really fucked this one up. I hope their ass gets handed to them next October. Like Wynne had her ass handed to her, the lesbian premier we had with her social justice platform in Ontario. Put a lot of people off, and she did nothing for the business environment, nothing, just dawdled all the time and pushed on profit.
The lefties are going to get spanked pretty hard this
So I'm glad that Ford threw out the Green Energy Act.
Yeah.
She also put a carbon tax on our gasoline that drove it up 7 cents a liter. And it's like, holy fuck, you know. So nobody wants to go on vacations or weekend drives anymore and shit. They just only drive to go to work and back because they can't afford the fucking gas at the ridiculous price. So Ford's knocking 10 cents off of it immediately with the provincial levy of the fuel tax. He's also bringing back buck of beer.
What is it?
What
a buck of beer. A buck of
What
beer.
is that?
What, buck of beer?
Yeah.
Beer for $1 a can or a bottle.
Oh.
Currently, right now, a bottle of beer typically, well, a case of beer in Canada, for example, is about $36 for a toothful.
Whoa!
Yes, that's right. Well, in Ontario, anyways, it'd be more on the East Coast, depending on your provincial tax levy or what you would call state tax. But Ontario's combined tax with the federal tax is 13 cents on the dollar, and 8% of that, or 8 cents on the dollar, is provincial levy. So Ford has invited the breweries to go to a buck of beer. He wants to make our beer now available in stores and grocery markets, not just the supermarkets, because previous to that, you had to go to what they call the beer store to get your beer. There's the beer store and there's the LCBO, or Liquor Control Board of Ontario. You couldn't buy it at supermarkets or off the shelf except in the province of Quebec.
Well, Quebec has always been enlightened in that regard when it comes to their booze.
Well, Quebecers aren't stupid, and I got another news for you too. Come next month, things are going to change really drastically in Quebec politically, because
I hope so.
The Liberals there are about to get their ass handed to them, and the CAQ, which is called Coalition Avenir Quebec, is basically the new Quebec Conservative Party.
Good.
And they're gaining fast in the polls there. They're gaining so much ground. It's just it's awesome. So even Quebecers are changing their tune. There was also a recent by-election federally, because if the seat gets vacated or an MP resigns or quits or dies or something like that, there has to be a by-election within 6 months to replace that member of parliament. This is for the federal level, provincial too. And the town of Chicoutimi, which is in northern Quebec, Chicoutimi had a by-election to replace a federal member that I believe passed on, and the Bloc Québécois, which are largely a separatist party, didn't want the Liberals winning that riding either, so they threw their support behind the Conservatives.
Oh,
they got they got the Conservative MP with a landslide, and the candidate for the Bloc Québécois turned around and said, "You know what, guys? Anything but Liberal. Support the Conservatives." He told his following to go support the Conservatives, and they did, and the Conservatives won it handily. And that was a warning shot at Trudeau, right?
Yeah.
So he's down one there, and he
but
lost
I think
another
overall, as long as conservatives in general comply with the basic idea of not trying to force their morality on other people, I think that because that's the big thing most people have against conservatives is we don't want, you know, a conservative version of the church lady, you know, coming into our bedroom and telling us what the hell to do, you know?
Well,
You know,
keep in mind,
they leave us alone morally and not try to enforce morality on us. For
keep
the
in
most
mind
part,
that
most of us are conservative.
keep in mind that conservatism in Canada is not quite the same as the conservatives in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's a little more modified. I would call it basically liberal light, pushing on the right of center. I wouldn't exactly say that it's blatantly conservative like the GOP.
Well, you're conservative. Your center is far to the left of our center
More or
because you
less.
guys actually have hate crime laws.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know,
we
I
didn't
mean,
break
hate
those
speech laws.
Yeah.
You know,
Those weren't brought in by the conservatives. Those were brought in by the liberals and the NDP.
You know, if you were to get caught saying, so I won't have you say it. I wouldn't want you to get caught saying that, you know, transgenders are mentally ill, you know, but if you were to get caught saying that in public, you could go to jail for that in Canada.
You could, but it's not, so far it hasn't been strictly enforced.
Right.
There's only one person I know of, and it was a former Manitoban politician who was a native, and he said something derogatory towards the Jews. And
well, that'll definitely get you locked up since they rule the world.
He got his
if you want to know who rules the world, ask who you're not allowed to criticize.
The Zionist conspiracy, they got it, you know. But anyhow, he got his ass turfed out because of it.
Yeah.
Doing jail time as well, but I don't think to any great amount. Like if they give you 5 years in jail here, you're probably only going to spend a year and a half.
Well, nobody should go to jail for what they've said, though. That's the thing. And that's,
no, well, this is what Peterson.
That shouldn't be happening anywhere in the West.
Well, that's what Peterson argued during this Senate committee on this new law regarding, you know, gender identity and shit like that. But, you know, that's to change the whole language of English and whatnot to accommodate. You know, and how do you know if a person's transgender at a glance anyhow? To know how to properly address them. So I don't call them Z or Zer or whatever the fuck they want to be called. I'm guilty of a hate crime.
Right. Well, what you should do then to make it so that I don't become a criminal is you should pass a law that anybody who does not present as what they wish to be called as, they have to wear on their forehead a sticker.
Yep.
Specifying their proper pronouns. And if they leave the sticker off, they need to go to jail for you know, creating an attractive.
If you get a chance there, Brutus, I borrowed a line from you. On my wall, if you go to my main page, you go down a bit, you'll see a Canadian $10 bill with Sir Johnny MacDonald on it. I say basically, oh, you social justice warriors, please send me all your $10 bills, those racist $10 bills, and I'll get rid of them, I promise. I said, please donate generously to the needy, me. And then I put down, I was talking to Melissa Dodge on there, and I said I could outbeat her in the oppression Olympics because she's Native Canadian anyhow. And I says to her, well, I'm a 7-year-old Chinese, Christian, Jewish, Muslim girl, blah, 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 stuck in a man's body, you know, cis male body, yak, yak, yak. And she says, okay, you beat me, you weirdo.
Oh, that was a hate crime when she called you a weirdo.
yeah, you'll see it on my main page there. If you scroll down, you see the Canadian $10 bill with Sir Johnny MacDonald on it. And that's what the most recent flap is about statues here. So the disease is moving north.
Stuff is going to create a backlash, you know. And the thing is, they've got it wrong because they misunderstand what I would call our general form of traditional nationalism, which is not some sort of hardcore Hitlerian thing. It's just that we have a right to be who we are and to have an identity, and it's okay. And we have a right not to be forcibly replaced against our will.
Well, we've always had this saying up here that when the U.S. sneezes, we catch a cold.
Right.
Because whatever trends down in the U.S. will eventually hit us. And it used to be like about 5 years before that trended in the U.S. made its way, made up into Canada. Like even when they're looking into the Social Security issues of Social Security and trying to find ways to make it more sustainable given the current demographic. And then sure enough, within a year, it was being talked about up here with Canada Pension Plan too. Same problems exist. You got an aging population, of which are the majority, pre-war, post-war baby boomers, and you're only going to have a very, very minuscule tax base to draw from. So what's the answer? But even here, the father of healthcare here in Canada, Tommy Douglas, even said that back in the 60s that it'll work great for a while, but it can't last forever. It's just not possible.
Right.
Because sooner or later, well,
there's ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
There's ways to make it happen if politicians are not too tempted. By that, I mean, if a politician is not going to spend every dime that they collect in taxes this year in order to make constituents happy and to buy votes, and is instead willing to take money that they collected and put it aside and keep it put aside to be spent later, you can make these programs sustainable, but they have never been willing to do that.
I'll tell you what I hated the most. I used to have a timeshare in Florida, and I go down there, and of course it's March break. All the fucking teachers are down there from Canada.
Right.
And them are fucking lefty unionists and shit like that. And they'll be bragging to their American counterparts or people they're social with, well, you know, we got free health care, we don't pay a thing, blah, blah, blah. They go, I'll shout right across in the car, I go, horse fucking shit. We shoot more bull than Canada meat packers. I says, now tell them the percentage that comes off our taxes to support health care.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and you forgot to mention that sometimes you got to pay for certain services too.
Yeah.
So, you need a doctor's note, that's $20.
Yeah.
You want your results online from an examination or a scan or something like that, there's $5.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, our healthcare system's free. I go, no, it's not fucking free. Nothing's free. You pay one way or another. The only difference between the U.S. and us is they pay now and we pay later.
Hey, did you know that Lauren Southern is a man?
Yeah, she pulled that off as a.
I loved that.
She's not really a man, but she did it to make a point. Right?
Yeah, and that was in Canada. The Canadian doctor just has to sign off.
She's not the most confident speaker, but she's good at getting her points across.
She's a hoot.
Yeah, she's a hoot. The other thing that disturbs me too lately is that we're so hell bent on getting all these Syrian refugees in here and all these border jumpers and shit like that. But our government isn't saying a whisper about the fucking South African farmers that are going to eventually be facing genocidal circumstances in South Africa.
Well, they're already there.
They're in the process of ceding their lands. And
well, genocide only matters if you can blame it on people of a certain persuasion. If it's people of that persuasion that are being genocided, like in South Africa or Zimbabwe or whatever, it doesn't count. And that also tends towards understanding what the word diversity means.
The only two countries that are doing anything directly about it right now is the United Kingdom and, of course, Australia. I know the U.S. government's looking into it right now, but haven't made a final decision. But
apparently, it's all a big false flag. That's the big narrative. They've gone full reverse Alex Jones with the story. It's very weird. Like any mention, it's like, oh, it's all fake news. It's not really happening.
Along with having banned Alex Jones, by the way, from where is it? Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all this other crap. So that they tried to shut down alternative narratives. Not that I've ever watched Alex Jones, but
all I can say is we got a lot of abandoned or farm fields up here where the farm family died off or whatever. And I sure wouldn't mind getting a handful of South African farmers because they're pretty fucking efficient too.
Well, Georgia has actually, the country of Georgia has given them an offer where they can all go there and have farms.
Yeah. So, but still, home is home for them, right?
Yeah.
My mother has a friend that's in South Africa, and now she's looking to leave as well. It's getting pretty critical there. Basically, what's going on in South Africa is what happened in, formerly Rhodesia, or now modern days in Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. Man.
Well, it's
murder.
Something like that is happening in parts of America, too. I don't know if you're familiar with a town called Lewiston in Maine.
Not Maine. I know Lewiston, New York, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, Lewiston decided they were going to import a bunch of Somalians.
Right.
And Somalians now constitute about a third of the population of Lewiston. Now, what they do to make their crime statistics look proper is they just don't charge people with crimes. So, for example, a gentleman was literally killed by a group of people on video in a park across the street from the police station. And since no charges have been filed and nobody has been prosecuted, there is no crime, right? Okay, boof, magic, no crime. Even though this person is dead, there is no crime. Now, obviously, the person who is dead looks a lot like you, and the people who were in a group killing him looked a lot like Robert Mugabe. But, you know, when that video was put on YouTube, it was taken down. When things get to the point where things are obviously and clearly being censored, then you know you're dealing with something seriously corrupt, and also you know you're dealing with something that's very fragile.
Yeah.
Okay? If you can't handle me saying something, then something's really bad. Okay? Something's fragile here, something's easily overtaken, something is afraid of the truth.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like up here, the media lately has been raising a huge stink about the detainment of certain Mexican children and whatnot at the border, and making them sound like they keep them in animal cages.
I know.
Like, you know, and
James, that thing was so stupid. I'm so glad we're done talking.
I know. James brought up a post about that, and he said it's spot on. No, the U.S. Border Patrol does not separate kids from their parents if they can prove relationship, provided they show up at a border point, proper border point, not a unmanned border point. And no, they're not detaining them because they're illegal or anything like that. They're detaining them because there's this huge thing called the sex trade.
Yeah.
These kids get funneled off to Los Angeles or any other place and used just for that. And I listened to a bunch of women cacophoning up here one day, and I just looked. I was at Tim Hortons, and I says to myself, "Oh, okay, so you're okay with these kids being taken over the border and being used for sex slaves and prostitutes and hookers and shit."
Yeah.
And that's how it's going on though. They're putting them in cages and detaining just because they're
no.
I go, no, they're not doing that. And no, they don't put them in cages. They do keep them confined to a given area.
That's harder for them to believe, though. It's easier for them to just be like, Trump just hates brown children, and he's doing this because he's a big meanie doo-doo head.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't go any deeper for these people. That's as deep as they think about it. They don't think, oh, I wonder if there's a reason for this. I wonder if the safety of the children is a factor. I wonder if they're actually saving people. No, it's just, I hate Trump. Trump happens to be the guy in charge. So therefore,
well,
he's a mustache-twirling bad guy. No.
You know what I hear up here? Mr. Orange Hair. You know, like
if you think about it, if I get picked up by the cops for something and brought into the slammer, you know, that's not a population where you necessarily want to put kids, right? Okay, the only reason these people are in a slammer is because they broke a law.
Well, none of that.
The easy way to avoid being in that slammer is don't break that law, right? So come through a proper border point, have a proper visa. You don't just, what country on earth can I drop in there out of the clear blue sky and say, hi, I'm Brutus, and no, I have no papers, but I have a right to be here because I exist.
Yeah, try doing that in Mexico.
Yeah, I can try doing that in Mexico, or I could try doing that anywhere on earth. You know where I'm going to be? At least in the slammer, if I didn't take them by surprise. If I took them by surprise, they'll just machine gun me and ask questions later. I would most certainly be separated from my fucking family.
Well, here's the funny thing too, and this is what Canadians seem to be. This is the problem with Canadians. They're smart individually, but collectively they're stupid as hell. Worst fucking voters ever. And
second worst.
Yeah.
We elected Barack Obama and Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that's true too. But one big ass mistake, America. But the thing is they're fucking totally delirious over the fact that Trump's all off on the fucking trade deal with Canada, but can make a deal with Mexico. They're saying, why would Mexico be dumb enough to make a trade deal with them when they didn't make one with us? Well, one, Mexico didn't put LGBTQ, whatever the fuck they call it, rights on the table and gender policies into a trade deal, which is
exactly
about LGBTQ rights, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to do that. We can send all our LGBTQ to Canada in exchange for genuine Canadian steel.
Sure.
I'll work out a deal for that.
Let's export the LGBTQs. That's fine. Let's
there'll be a prime American export.
What kind of
Afghanistan?
What kind of fucking prime minister and cabinet would come up with this? Well, especially Chrystia Freeland. She looks like a retired hooker, worn out little thing. But you know,
probably is.
And but who in the right mind would try to tie gender fucking rights to trade deals anyways? What's trade got to do with fucking gender? Absolutely nothing, right? So it's a dumb idea in the first place. But they can't understand how Mexico was able to deal with Trump when they say, "Oh, but he's putting a wall up of him. Why are they doing business with him?"
Well, yeah. Hey, Chase is in the house.
Hey, Chase.
Yeah. So they're
just sounding like a buzzing though.
Can we hear you? Are you talking? You got a mic?
It was. I'm down level, and they're cleaning out. They're sweeping the parking lot. I had to sneak out of here to get on the hangouts. It's not my own job.
I gotcha.
Well, thanks for sneaking away and joining us, man. It's good to see you.
But they just make it sound like, oh, they just grab these kids at the bar and take them away and lock them up. And no. You can't prove any relationship or kinship to the child. The child's going to be apprehended for its safety. And then the authorities have to try to find the legitimate parent or relative that they belong to and sort it out, or decide if that child has to be taken into care.
Yeah, because child trafficking has become a huge issue.
They hate children.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, it's getting very, very big now. And it's been going on for years with hardly anybody noticing till now. But, how stupid can they be? And I just look at these broads at the Timmies and I said, oh, so you're okay with these kids being smuggled in, used for sex toys and abused and treated like slaves?
I got into a disagreement with someone about that, and she flat out denied that sex traffickers came in by foot. She's like, no, they fly in fancy planes and yachts.
No.
How fucking stupid are you? Like, yeah, that happens too, but it's still like by foot is the cheapest way to do it. It's not like all sex traffickers are fucking a lot of our
when I used to go to the States,
just fucking the cartels, you know.
When I used to go to the States all the time across the border, I'd take my son with me or my oldest daughter, and the first thing they ask me when I get to the border, they're not even interested in my paperwork right away. First thing is, oh, you got a child on board. Well, will you please bring her in through that door? We'd like to interview her. And can you account for this child? Do you have the number of permission from the mother and all that stuff? You get a good fucking grilling. And they're going to make sure that that kid's not an exploited child, an abducted child.
And that's because they hate children. They want to
and I got to prove by every reasonable extent that I have permission to leave the country with her, that she is in fact my daughter, and there's no foul play involved. And of course, they're going to grill her with questions too.
Well, I wonder if all these people concerned about children being separated from their parents would consider rethinking their position on custody reform.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, really.
As long as we're concerned about the children being with their parents, after all, that's all we care about. There's no ulterior motive, no other.
I'm all for the protection of children, and as long as kids pass between borders between the Canada, the United States, or Mexico, there should be some level of interrogation and vetting. And if something doesn't add up, then that child needs to be taken into custody and held until matters are sorted out for their safety. I'm fine with that.
That's racist. Sorry.
Well, what we do here,
too bad. I guess I'm racist.
is we end up putting them in the care of like foster families or something like that until we can figure out who their next of kin is and stuff.
Yeah, that's their first step. Put them in a foster family till they get it all sorted out, or church groups and stuff like that. But
I mean, I feel bad about kids. I don't want kids to be hurt, and we do have a very serious sex trade issue in this country.
Yep.
Right.
Like
you are a refugee, go to a fucking border station and turn yourself in. They won't separate you from your kids, as a rule. Like you'll just be processed and they'll look into your, and see if you have a case for actually, getting a hearing for.
And if the child, you can prove that the child is actually yours.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, at this point, I believe we really should effectively shut down the borders. Well, we don't need any more people. My standard commute has increased by an hour in the past 15 years because of excess traffic. There's plenty of population in this country. It's not like we have a lack. We have buildings standing vacant for lack of people or something.
Well, that's why I say let's just annex Mexico. Then they won't need to be here, and we'll just export some of our fucking capitalist awesomeness down there. Get rid of the fucking cartels and still a little. And Mexican people will fucking love it. They will be so happy to be part of the United States of America. They can be their own state called Mexico. And
well, yeah, why not? Why not just annex Mexico? That's what I think we should do.
They'll fucking love it.
Oh, Dax
Look
is
at
here.
this. Holy shit.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Dax?
Mike's is off. But here's the catch, though. The problem is not so much the fact that it's immigration, but the fact that the system hasn't had time to develop the infrastructure, whatever, to accommodate that many more people.
Well, we don't have the infrastructure for it. We don't need it. I mean, think about what's coming down the pike in terms of automation. Just in terms of automation alone. You know, do you know any secretaries?
Yeah.
You might know people who used to be secretaries, but secretaries no longer exist. Mail clerks no longer exist. Nobody takes a memo anymore because the boss just sends a fucking email, right?
That's
you
right.
know, all this stuff. There's tons of jobs that no longer exist because they're automated, and that number of jobs is continuing to grow. And the lower skilled a job is, with a handful of exceptions, we even now have automated trash trucks.
Yeah. Well, we can all give them jobs as diversity consultants.
Well, there's only so many diversity consultants you need too. So
never enough.
We don't need any more people here.
Consultants in every small business.
Yeah, we have an ongoing problem with people we already have.
That's the only way to ensure. Hey, what's up? Can you hear us? Can you talk?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Hey, guys, good to see y'all again.
Hi,
hey, how's it going?
Doing all right. Sorry, I'm late. So, been in the yard for the company I work for. Been there all my 2-week hitch, and been getting off like at 5 o'clock. Got paid for 10 hours, only worked 5, and somebody went and fucking narked on us. So, yeah, had to play a little closer to the chest today.
You still work in the oil sector?
Yes, I do. Yep. New company, though.
Nice. Nice.
Nice. Do you have diversity consultants?
No. At my company, if somebody accuses you of racism, usually they're the ones who get looked at funny.
Good.
As it should be.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And we do have on my crew a race baiter. And honest to God, everything is racism kind of guy. And it's become an issue to the point where our service leader has gone to our the guy above him and said, we need to get rid of this guy. And they say, no, we can't. He's going to play the race card. But nobody buys his bullshit.
Well,
so.
Is your operation also unionized?
Nope.
No? Oh, okay. That's even better.
You don't need a union in operations that actually work.
I'll tell you one thing. We got tons of shit disturbers up here at various plants and factories and steel mills and stuff. And all unions do is just fucking protect the laziest assholes out there. And the ones that do all the fucking complaining and bitching. And nobody can get rid of them.
Well, ever since I became a transsexual 7-year-old Chinese girl, my life has been great.
Oh, fuck.
No, you don't want to be Chinese. Chinese is the new white, man. You want to be like Pakistani or something.
Well, here's a really profound question for you. So pretend I have sex with this chick, right? And she thinks I'm like a middle-aged dude, right? And she thinks I gave consent because I wrote it down and I let it get filmed and everything like that. 5 people witnessed that there was consent. But the next day I realized I'm a 7-year-old Chinese girl. Does that make her a pedophile?
Yes.
I thought it was. So she's an ex post facto pedophile.
That's great. Hashtag me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are talking about automation and destruction of certain jobs.
Yeah, automation is going to destroy a lot of shit.
Mass immigration and automation, and how we're going to have an.
Yeah, we don't need any more immigration because automation is going to take a lot of this shit away. We're going to have a lot of people that need to be supported for whom there are no jobs.
None that currently exist.
Well, you know, that's true. There are always new economies being created by new technology.
Yes and no.
Polish the robots, if you know what I mean. Once they get sentient, they're going to have needs.
Well,
depending on what kind of robot.
Yeah, the problem you run into, though, is that people are not interchangeable. You know, certain things exist on a bell curve. Like only whatever it is, 1.7% of people have IQs over 130. Only 16% have IQs over 115. If you have, you're not going to take a person who has a certain IQ and turn them into something with a much higher IQ.
No.
It's not going to happen. They're not interchangeable. And so you can't take that job of programming a robot and say to the guy who was out picking lettuce and whose job was replaced by a lettuce picker robot, okay, well, you can just program the robot. And there's also an economy of scale. You only need one guy to program 20 robots.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need 25 guys who were picking lettuce that those robots have replaced.
Well, that's when you have a great case for legalizing prostitution.
that and if I may, there is a huge trucker shortage. There's actually jobs, a lot of jobs all over the place, primarily in the trades and the, how shall we say, more blue collar areas. I mean, I'm getting, I keep getting job offers from Warner Trucking, from Schneider, from Swift.
Yeah.
And we are hurting for labor, but we're hurting for specialized labor. The labor that should have gone.
Electricians.
Yeah, that's the trade labor that should have happened, but everyone was suckered into college.
Right.
So, and I'll be frank on this point. I don't believe that. While I do agree with you that we are, you can't interchange people with A, different IQs, and B, different interests. I know that I can do certain jobs, but you can't pay me enough to do it. Anything customer service related, I got a shotgun sandwich waiting for me before I go near it. But there are some people, but there are also people who are, you know, smarter than me who wouldn't touch fracking, who wouldn't touch truck driving. And that's also a lot of preference. And you know, as I said, they're hurting in the trucking industry for drivers, and they're also hurting in the trades. And I'm sure they were talking about how illegals being deported left a whole bunch of fruit to rot in the fields. Which, don't get me wrong, I believe that. I believe that there are jobs that Americans, most of us, think ourselves above. And I think that is. But that's fucking hard labor. I've done that kind of thing.
I have too. I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a farm. I know how it works.
Yeah. I did it for 3 days when I was when I was in a temp agency. I didn't like it. Not going to lie. I would rather be doing the crap I do, which is manufacturing or production.
Well, the thing is, though, a lot of this isn't really a labor shortage. Right now, for example, in America, we still have the lowest percentage of labor qualified adults employed that we have ever had. And the reason that a lot of those people are not in the workforce is because something hasn't occurred to lure them in. If I could pick lettuce and it paid $51 an hour,
right,
I would really strongly consider picking lettuce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've sold stuff at the farmer's market, but instead of selling lettuce at the farmer's market for, I don't know, 29 cents a pound or however much they have to sell it out of the fields for, I've sold it for $5 for a pound. And, you know, I can pick lettuce and get $5 a pound for it because how long did it take me to pick that lettuce? Oh, less than 30 seconds. Okay. I've invested 30 seconds. I've sold it for $5. Now, granted, I had to grow it and everything, but my turnaround on that is huge if I sell it at a fair price, right?
Right.
So, but the thing is, a guy
I mean, he was a laborer, it is, but with the farmer, with the, you know, the costs that go into it, I don't know if I would say that that's a huge turnaround.
Well, it's actually quite good.
Well, one of the things that we talk about wages is we always talk about how do we pay more people, but I think the greater issue is how do we get to this point where we have to pay people so much? It used to be back in the day you could afford health care out of your own pocket. It used to be back in the day you could buy a house with, you know, less than a year's salary.
Yeah.
You could go to college and not be in debt for the rest of your life, you know, right. And somehow all this shit got super duper expensive. And I think you guys all know why.
There's a few reasons, but one of them is that anything that you can't offshore or outsource and you have to pay its real-time costs in America, education. You know, the cost of education, the cost of healthcare, the cost of real estate. These are things I can't outsource to China, right? So they reflect the real loss in the value of our money. Those things have gone through the roof compared to inflation, and real wages have stagnated compared to those.
Well, where the direction I was kind of going is, we'll take education, for example, student loans, the advent of student loans and government grants. Suddenly, colleges didn't have the limit of people not being able to afford their services, holding them back. Now that the government is saying, oh, well, you know, we'll give you a student loan, boom, suddenly tuition can skyrocket. They can charge whatever the fuck they want. Because
that happened with mortgages and housing. The
that
existence of mortgages forced real estate higher.
Yeah, he's not thinking about the future. He's thinking, oh, wow, I get college now and I don't have to pay for it. I'll just worry about it later. And
I wouldn't even tell a kid here to go to university. I'd just say, you know what, go get a good fucking trade. You go to university, you're in debt forever. They got you by the fucking short and curlies on student loans, and you're screwing yourself.
It makes sense to go to college for certain things. Like my daughter, she's a scientist. It makes sense. You know, you're going and you're getting a degree in a hard science. Okay, you're going to be employable in that field, and it's going to pay enough to pay off your student loans. But if you're going to get a degree in psychology or business management or some other social work, some other bullshit major, gender studies or something, bullshit. Maybe you deserve to be in debt forever for that being that fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, we got the same dilemma here. That they go get these junk degrees, and they're just that, they're junk degrees. Any STEM field up here is top of the line. You get out of that situation quickly with them because it's high demand, and they're paying too.
Yeah,
junk degrees.
You know, a lot of times you really can't blame student. I mean, you can really, because they're adults, they made a decision. But let's think about where they're coming from. They've been taught their whole life, including their family, that college is the only way to have a successful life. That's it. That was the big lie everyone bought into for like 30 years. And that was all they repeated is, you got to go to college. You got to go. I remember being in elementary school, and the principal giving a big speech. He was like, "Here's what you need to be thinking about right now to get into the best college you can, and you know that's going to be your future." And you know, that was backed up by my family and everyone around.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the zeitgeist of the time. And of course, you know, predatory companies in collusion with the government came in, and they're like, "Oh, how do we get a piece of that?" And they went crazy with it, and now we're buried in student loan debt. Now, we have a whole generation of dumbasses that spent $100,000 or borrowed $100,000 on fucking basket weaving degrees. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm saying they're the minority. I think the most of it was just normal people that bought into the fucking lie.
Yeah, you know, the dead giveaway of how horrible college has become is that a third of college graduates, that's college graduates, cannot pass tests showing that they are functionally literate. Okay, now
just read the comments. Just read the comment sections on YouTube or Facebook.
This is the reality. These are people with college degrees. Now, they should be literate as sixth graders. Okay, you should not be able to get out of the sixth grade without being able to be a fully functional reader and writer. But they graduated sixth grade, seventh grade, high school. They graduated college with a bachelor's degree, right? Which used to really mean something, right?
Yeah.
They can't even fucking read.
No.
Okay? And these guys have degrees. Okay? And they've got debt to pay for this degree, and they can't even read, right?
Well, all they got to do for their senior thesis is write fuck Trump, and that's it. And that in, and they get 100%.
Well,
it's funny. For my daughter's genomics class, she had to set up a Twitter account for interacting with her instructor. I told her, follow Hillary Clinton. Do not follow Trump. You want to get an A in the class.
Best advice you could give her.
Say what sounds good until they get you
through
through.
The Trump rallies with me. She loves Trump, of course.
I just tell people I'm conservative, so I'm always right. But yeah, no, this is the problem too with this open immigration policy that Trudeau's pushed here in Canada. These people that are coming in from Syria, or these border jumpers coming up from Vermont and all that stuff, they have virtually no education. They can't get any meaningful work here, so they end up on the welfare rolls. And
they aren't even literate in their own language. That's the big thing.
Yep. So how the fuck are they going to survive here anyways? And I'm sorry, but fucking better work your ass off to pay those heating bills because we get long, cold winters.
And that's something too about trades. I'm a big fan of trades too. My dad used to teach trades. He used to be one of the highest rated bridge welders and nuclear power plant welders and stuff like that. Did all kind. He used to teach electrical wiring and things like that. I love trades, but the thing is, you cannot be okay. You can be a production line welder and not be the smartest guy in the world. But if you're going to be a welder who repairs a mix of things that could go wrong, you actually need to be pretty fucking smart.
Yeah.
Okay? You need to be a lot smarter than your average high school teacher, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing applies if you're going to be an electrician. If you're going to be, okay, fine, you don't need to be a rocket scientist if you're going to run like a piece of Cat5 cable for a computer. But if you're going to wire up triple phase 440 and set it all up right so that everything's properly grounded and all this other shit to run an industrial engine, you have to be a smart motherfucker.
But, it's just a drain on the entire system when you got to support a bunch of people that are just simply not employable because they don't have the skills, they don't have the language skills, they don't have, among other things, and we're Canada's demographic right now is at a point of about 1.6, and it's going down all the time, and it's going to eventually be irreversible. And the only thing that's holding the U.S. up from that level too is the fact that they do have illegal border jumpers, believe it or not, filling in the gap. But that even has limits, though. Right?
No, the demographic thing isn't going to be irreversible. I mean, the biggest damage done to our replacement level. First off, we don't need gazillions of millions of people. Right? I mean, like I said, my commute is taking an hour longer now than it did 15 years ago, and we don't need that many people, and we need fewer people overall. But the biggest thing has been feminism, has been this whole thing of making men look at things and say, shit, if I have a kid with this girl and she goes off the deep end, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody knows that better
chance
than me.
I'm fucked, right? Or if I get married to this girl and she decides that she wants me to subsidize her next lover and she can have a court force me to do it, I'm fucked. And lots of guys look at that saying, shit, I don't want to be fucked. Right?
I found that out the hard way. And if I'd known back when I was 25 what I know now, there's no fucking way I would have married. I would have said, no way.
And the problem is, it doesn't just hurt men, it hurts women too. Because there's plenty of women out there who are perfectly decent, reasonable women who have absolutely no intentions to misuse the system the way it was designed to be misused.
Right.
But a man can't look at a girl and say, that girl's never going to fuck me over. Because you never know until the time to fuck you over comes.
Yeah. Well, the thing that kills me is every guy you run into that's lovelorn and thinks he's got the one.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, every
4 or 5 years down the road. I know, I was there. I went through all this.
Every guy wants to believe he has the one. You don't want to be that guy who's like, this bitch is gonna fuck me over. Fuck you. Let's put a ring on that shit. No.
Right.
Everyone wants to think that their girl is the one. And you know what? I sympathize with. I sympathize. I wish that were true. Fuck, I'm 27 years old. There's times I still yearn for the family life and all that great shit. The logic sides just bitch smacks me in the face. I can't allow myself to do it.
And
one of the guys, sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
There are women who are approaching, older age who wish they had kids, who postponed it for whatever reason, things like that. That is a tremendous heartache. A woman who wants to have kids who did not have the opportunity to have kids, in large part maybe due to the whole dynamics that have been created, that is a huge heartbreak in her life. Yeah. This does not just hurt men. It hurts women too.
Every once in a while I'll run into a very optimistic teenager or a young 20-something guy who's going on about how he wants to get married and all that stuff. And I look at him and I go, you want to get married? And he goes, yeah. And I go, why? And he goes, well, it's what we're supposed to do, isn't it? And I looked at him and I said, okay, well, before you make that decision, I'll tell you what you got to do. And he goes, what? And I'll go out and buy yourself a $450,000 house. then go find yourself a girl that just totally hates your fucking guts and would love to destroy you, and then just give it to her and walk away.
Yeah.
And I go, there's your marriage.
Oh, and also send her a third of your paycheck for the next 20 years.
Yeah, if there's kids especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alimony's not too big up here. There are cases of alimony, but not to the same level that you see in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right.
But hey, guys, it's getting late here, and I'm going to need to get my my handsome rest because, as you know, I haven't been well. So
yeah.
But
well,
we
listen,
should. It's great to see you guys, and
yeah,
Yeah, you too.
And
once in a while, and I'm leaving for up north on Sunday, fellas. So if there's any podcasts after this, I won't be around till at least October 3rd. So
okay, well, have fun up north, and but we should hook something up maybe in a couple weeks if we can, James, and just
that would be cool.
shoot the shit.
At the very least, let's try to do this once a month or something.
Yeah, let's do it.
It would be
Okay.
awesome. I know people, everybody's got their jobs and careers to do, and probably tied up. But I got to admit, I missed all you sons of bitches.
Well, I miss you guys too, and it's exacerbated by the fact I haven't been on the social media, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's keep it up, and hopefully we can get Mikey and Jawar on too. So.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care, guys.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Later.
All right, so I think I can go for another 15, 20 minutes before
Go for it, James.
Sweet.
You should do more speaking anyways. You haven't really had lots to say this whole session.
Oh, you know, I was letting you guys chat. These things always get jumbled when we try to talk over each other. So.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I just want everyone to have their fair share of input. So, shoot away, Dax. What do you got to say?
Throughout all this, so back when I still consider myself MGTOW, but I mean, I've let go of the rage. I really have, and now I feel bad. I feel bad for a lot of people, men, women, children, especially.
Yeah, same here.
I used to look at it all with kind of this cynical smile of self-congratulation that I avoided it and they fell into it. But, you know, as time goes by, just kind of like, man, another one.
I know. I loathe myself right now because I've gotten to the point where I just don't give a shit anymore. And that's not like me. That's not the person that I really am. I actually do give a shit about people and, you know, children, women, everybody. But I've gotten pushed to the point where I'm just drained out, and it's just I don't care anymore, and I hate it. You know, that's not me. But what can you do? But you know, I'm past the anger thing now. I got no choice. It's just.
You know, if we were sociopathic NPCs with no internal dialogue, we'd all be a lot happier. I look at that. I think Beyonce and Justin Bieber are the best music ever. And I'm like, God, I wish I was as dumb as you. I'd probably be really happy.
Ignorance is bliss.
It really is. Like people that watched Big Bang Theory and thought it was funny, you know, just all these people. I'm just like, how, you know, like people that watch Saturday Night Live and laugh their asses off. I'm like, who are these people? Like, who are these people?
I don't like SNL now. I don't find SNL near as humorous now as I did back in the old days.
Funny since 1982, as far as I know.
Yeah. It's just not the same. And almost everything's politically motivated there. You know.
God damn it! I'm tired of it, dude. I can't watch anything anymore just because of how politically motivated. And James, you know how obsessed I am with politics on my Facebook feed.
Right. Oh yeah.
And it's too much for me. It's too much.
There's no escape from it. It's okay to immerse yourself into it for a little while, but you need to escape from it. That's why we always had things like sci-fi and movies and comic books and video games. But now it's all in there. You can't think about that.
Yeah.
In our escapism, it's everywhere. You have to choose a side. Everywhere you go, there's a fucking political battle. Yeah. Everyone's asking you, what do you think of Trump? You know, it's like this crazy, bizarro world we live in where people are just fucking lost their minds. No one interacts with each other like people anymore. It's just all
I get
support. That's it.
Yeah, I get that too. They'll say to me, well, what do you think of Trump? And I go, what do I think of him? Yeah, you know, like, is he an asshole or what? I go, no, he's the duly elected president of the United States. Get over it.
He is an asshole. Let's be honest.
Hey, and he's doing your job for free. Yeah. So.
But it's so exhausting, and the only place you can go is to the past and watch old shit again. You know, that's really all anymore.
That's what I do. I watch old movies and days of a less complicated time and all that stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken to pretty much playing StarCraft, freaking Lord of the Rings, like everything pre 2012, pre 2012. I'm playing, and I'm like,
I-
wow, this is so pathetic. I've already beaten this game like 10 times, but I don't want to touch anything else.
I watch old rerun shows of Chuck Connor's The Rifleman or Happy Days or whatever, you know.
Dude, I got a weird hair the other day, and I looked up old SCTV episodes on YouTube.
Oh, SCTV, yeah, that's another one too.
God, that show for like 3 hours I was laughing my ass off, and I'm like, God damn, where's comedy like this anymore?
Well,
That shit was legit.
yeah. Well, that was where Dave Thomas, John Candy, Rick Moranis, Eugene Levy all got their fucking big start to fame. Was on SCTV.
Fucking their second episode was called Cultural Sensitivity, and their whole episode was just nothing but offensive, racist stereotypes. Every single character in every single sketch, and they went out of there. Like Phil Remus even gives a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. He's like, hi, you know, like this is what we're gonna do, and if you don't like it, you can change the channel. No one's stopping you. No one's forcing you to watch this episode. Like he just like kind of goes off.
Well, the biggest hit that ever came out of SCTV was, of course, The Great White North with Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Oh yeah.
And then they called it the movie Strange Brew, and there was another one, but
it's one of those cases where government interference actually worked out, because the whole reason for that was because the Canadian government forced them to put in something that was pure Canadian, like let's show the world what Canadians are, and so they just like went overboard with the stereotypes as like a joke, and put no effort into it, and for some reason that caught on and everyone loved it.
Well, here's an interesting thing. All the mainstream Canadians don't live in Toronto anymore. They've all left because they're fed up with the cosmopolitan nature of Toronto, and it's literally ghettoized. Like you got a little Italy, little Chinatown, little this, little that. Like, you know, there's just no common Canadian theme there. So most of the mainstream Canadians born and raised, people like myself and whatnot, are old school stock. We've all moved to the rural areas or smaller towns, right? And the only show we've had recently that's come up that kind of reflects a bit on the attitude of the smaller town Canadians is a show called Letterkenny. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. Letterkenny?
No.
I have not.
Yeah. You can look up some episodes of Letterkenny with Wayne and, what's his name? Big guy, can't remember, but Katie, the girl, and whatnot. And these are just your typical hick Canadians from different walks of life. They got their skids, they got their hicks, they got their, you know, hockey players and shit like that. And it's kind of comical. And they got a whole language all their own. Wayne's always got the funniest wit lines, like, you know, get off the cross, we need the wood, you know, or your spare parts, aren't you, bud? Or your 10-ply, you know.
Sounds problematic.
Oh yeah. Okay, that was the one where they've got like where they go on insults. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about, because it's like your 10-ply, bud, as in you know, you're soft.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I've seen some clips from that. I've seen I've seen those 2 clips.
Yeah.
It's funny, dude. You got to see it, James. I think I'm going to share that with you.
Look at it sometime, James.
All right, yeah. Send me the link. I'll check it out.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, especially Wayne. We went to see it live back during the winter time. Sheila and I went to see them live down in Hamilton Place, and it was pretty hilarious. But they use typically hick terms like "how are you now," you know, not "how are you now" or "how are you," just "how are you now."
How are you now?
Good and you, you know. But watch some of the episodes. They got them on YouTube here. They're pretty. It's just basically a slapstick comedy, eh? Yeah.
Well, you know, they officially announced, CBS officially announced that the Prime universe of Star Trek is dead, and STD and the new Picard show and everything else they're going to do moving forward is all going to take place in the J.J. Abrams Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, they're trying to make some of the old new again and revive them, eh?
Yeah, they're rewriting what they're doing. Yeah. They're taking away the past and rewriting it. That's why they have to do all these prequels and shit. And it's not a whole lot different than what Disney did with the expanded universe for Star Wars, where they just kind of said all that didn't matter anymore.
Actually, you know who's, speaking of Letterkenny, you know who's big into Letterkenny? Ash Keeping. He loves the show.
Oh, I wish he could have done this tonight.
He gets it on satellite there. He just fucking busts over it. He thinks it's comical as hell.
We'll have to get him back.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they also got this thing called Native Blue. Check that one out, because there's this big competition with the town, Letterkenny, Ontario, which is actually Listowel, Ontario, but with the natives because of the cigarette trade, with the illegal smokes, you
Oh,
know, off reserve smokes and shit, and it's which is a big thing here, right? People get the cigarettes at the reserve now because the fucking domestic ones at the stores cost way too much. Fucking $100 a carton, you can go buy a baggie for like $15.
oh my God.
200 smokes is crazy. I get a carton of cigarettes at the reserve for $22. I can't get a carton out on the street here at the corner store for less than 100. Yeah.
Cigarettes are $4.50 a pack in Texas.
Here, well, they're now sitting around 11.60 a pack. It's worse where Ash, down where Ash lives. Fucking $14 for a pack of smokes. Yeah, that's,
And the packaging is like the stuff of horrors.
oh, Alberta's not much better either. $15-16 a pack of cigarettes now in Alberta.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come again?
$16.
Alberta, $15 to $16 for a pack of smokes.
That's Canadian dollars, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, which is roughly 30 cents on the dollar. So I'm going to guess that's around probably 12 US,
Shit.
give or take.
30. I
Yeah.
thought you guys were catching up to us.
Oh, no. But the worst state I've ever bought cigarettes in when I ran the states was in California and New York State. They were the two worst states. Cheapest cigarettes I'd get would be in Indiana, Virginia, South Carolina, Texas.
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah. If I ran out of Canadian smokes, I'd usually resort to Marlboro Lights or something like that.
Okay, so I went to New Mexico. We had to convoy a whole bunch of pumps from Colorado down to New Mexico. Went into a convenience store, and dude, $6.50 for a pack of smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Bastard.
yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, the link I sent
$6.50.
is Letterkenny Cold Open. That's the
Yep.
first one I ever saw, and that's the best one I ever saw.
Yeah, Cold Open's good.
I bookmarked it, so I'll be able to check it out later.
Yeah, check it out, Cold Open Letterkenny. But
Nice.
we do have a Letterkenny, Ontario, but it's right up near my cousin's place in Barry's Bay. But it's an old town that got abandoned back in the early 1900s. It was once a thriving population. Now you drive there, there's hardly anything there but the old church. But where they do the filming for the movie is actually Sudbury, Ontario, which is not far from where Sheila and I are going for our fly-in lodge and all that stuff. So, it's just, it'll be east of Elliott Lake by about an hour and a half. But yeah, it's all filmed just outside of Sudbury, Ontario. But yeah, check out Cold Open on Letterkenny. There's a few good episodes there to watch.
All right, yeah, once we're done here, I'll make sure to check it out.
Did you see the one, Dax, about Ginger and Boots allegedly fucking the ostrich?
No, so I'm not really too into it. I saw this one, Cold Open, and I saw like the follow-up one where the two guys meet up with the other two guys. I
Yeah,
don't even know their names.
yeah.
But yeah, it was
Well,
where they're
there's
actually gonna fight.
Riley and Jonesy.
Yeah, Riley and Jonesy were meeting up against the other two guys, except they were like playing football or hand egg or whatever the hell they called it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were actually like I thought they were gonna throw down, but then they called it flow.
Yeah.
Shut them both down. So
The other guy that's comical to listen on there is Shorzy.
oh shit.
Shorzy. Oh fuck, that guy's a riot.
Well, it's
But,
been so long since I've seen them.
yeah, Jonesy. Yeah, Riley and Jonesy are the two hockey players, and they got it in for Wayne's sister Katie. You know, just through and through comedy. But yeah, that's the new Canadian linguistic for rural Canadians that have left the cities and gone rural. You know, the farmer types and stuff like that. And they got their hit.
Is it a fairly new show or is it older?
Well, it's been around for 4 seasons now, I think.
Oh, okay.
Probably into the 5th season now.
That's relative. That's cool.
Yeah, it's still a big hit here, and I hear a lot more people using the tongue. It's actually just old Canadiana brought back to modern focus and used in common everyday terms, and they got something for everything. Just about. It is funny though. You just gotta listen to the deal going on with that.
Allowed to be made in this day and age.
Yeah. They got a few good ones there. They even have.
Australians are redefining comedy. I don't know if you've heard of I wish Ash was here to comment on this. I'll have to ask him about it. Have you heard of Hannah Gadsby?
No.
No. She's like the lesbian version of James Gunn. She looks exactly like him.
Oh, okay.
She's a stand-up comic, and basically her whole shtick is talking about how she's been abused and raped by men, but she doesn't deliver it like a stand-up comic. She just goes up there. It's like a TED Talk, and one guy in Australia was at her show, and about halfway through, he yells out, "Where's the bloody jokes?" And fucking she had fucking security escort him out.
What?
And it caused all these fucking controversies. I want to talk to Ash about that because I'm sure he's heard something about that. But apparently, all the SJW rags down there are propping her up as like the next generation of comedy, taking comedy in a new brave direction.
I thought, okay, wait, what? How's that funny?
It's not. That's the point. It's just her telling her story about being abused. Basically.
Oh, so it's absurdist humor, like that guy who went up and ate ice cream for his entire fucking show.
I don't know what the deal is. Either it's just fucking insane. Is what?
It's kind of along the same lines of Amy Schumer thinking she's funny, and then talking the shit that she does when she's not really funny at all.
Well, but the thing is, it's like they're saying she's telling her story through comedy, but there's nothing funny about her. It's like,
I'm trying to figure out how it works. So, my uncle raped me when I was a little girl. I told him at least. I can't even.
No, basically, is my uncle raped me as I was a little girl, and that's it. That's where, and then it'd be like 5 minutes of silence.
Well, no, that's stupid. She goes like, I always wondered if he was what they called a funny uncle. Just throw something at least stupid in there.
Yeah.
A nervous chuckle.
And then follow it with a ha, like.
Yeah, that's the anatomy of a joke. You have a setup and you have the payoff that's unexpected.
That's fine. That's fine. Those are the best kind of jokes to me. But you got a payoff.
Yeah, well, if she went up there and just told a bunch of rape jokes, that would be hilarious. I think that would be legitimately funny to see like a big fat feminist, go the opposite, go the whole fucking opposite route. You think she's going to be a triggered snowflake, and she ends up being like the most foul-mouthed, unpolitically correct, anti-feminist, tell these harsh, brutal, just I don't know. That would be fucking great. I would pay to see that.
I saw one that did make me laugh once, watching Ashley Judd talk about what a nasty woman she is. I fucking broke down watching her.
I'm a nasty woman.
That was a joke. That was just a total joke.
I'm a nasty woman. My vagina bleeds.
I don't think it was.
Oh God. In fact, they did a spoof where the captain of the Star Trek's on board and she shows up on their screen. Or something like that, and I guess he orders Chekhov there to fucking fire tasers or whatever at it, phasers, whatever. You see her blow up on the fucking screen, and Captain Kirk sitting there with a big smile on his face. Okay, full steam ahead.
I love those memes. Like I've seen that with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and
oh my God.
God, I know. We talked about her a little bit before, just how fucking crazy she is. But,
I gotta check her out. I've only seen maybe one thing that she was involved in, but
I keep waiting for what is it, Rule 36 or something?
No, James, stop. You have lost talking privileges for the rest of the night.
Yeah, James, watch your privilege.
That is the last thing the internet needs, okay?
It's out there. It's already been made. It has to be.
I don't want to think about that. God damn it, James. Great.
I don't know. I kind of dig the crazy eyes. It's kind of sexy, but that's me.
Yeah, maybe on like your weird day where you're just like, I wonder if I could find a midget prostitute named Maybe a midget prostitute named Hans. It has to be a chick.
Sometimes you want an ice cream sundae. Sometimes you want fried chicken and mashed potatoes. You never know. It's just the nature of being.
Okay, neither one of those is anywhere close to the razor blade smoothie you've asked for.
One time I was down in the States there at a truck stop in Pennsylvania, and I got approached by a midget prostitute. She wanted $60 to go up on me.
What'd you say? What'd you say? Come on now, you can't just leave it there.
Oh,
that's funny.
man, I've seen some really bizarre shit in my life, I'll tell you. Not just here in the United States or North America in general, but fucking all over the world, I've seen some crazy shit.
Wait, was it a lot lizard?
Oh, probably.
Oh, boy.
But the funny thing is, back a while ago, I got a reminder of it from, what's his name? Larry the Cable Guy used it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, something about, yeah, he said the same thing, basically. I met a midget prostitute. She wanted $60 to go up on me, you know. But usually when a chick approaches you at a truck stop looking for $60, what she's really trying to get is a rock, you know.
Yeah.
It's about the going price. Well, it was actually $40 at the time. And if they can't get to hook up with you for the fucking sex thing and whatnot, then they try to sell what they call high-speed chicken feed to you, if you will. You know, bennies, uppers, downers, whatever, drugs.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
I never bothered with them. I just kind of, shoot, go away. I'm busy. Lock the doors, kind of fuck off. And if I got bothered too many times at the truck stops by prostitutes knocking on my door or whatnot, I just drive up the fucking turnpikes or whatever, find the local rest area or even like a McDonald's service plaza or something like that and just park in that.
They literally just go around and knock on the doors.
Yeah, that's what a lot of lizards do, dude.
Yeah, they'll jump from truck to truck to truck looking for it. They don't even care if there's a woman in there.
I would think like you'd be like, you know, at least with the window open, like looking out, you know, or something.
Oh, no, it's funny, James. The worst truck stop I've ever seen for this is just north of Oklahoma City in a town called Edmonds. There's a Flying J there, and the fucking pimps all sit out on the fucking grass berm at the back of the parking areas. And these fucking chicks just go from truck to truck to truck, or they get a hold of a guy on the radio. He pulls in, door opens, she jumps in, they're gone. And then the cops will show up and patrol the parking lot once in a while. They just fucking disappear in the woodwork. But as soon as the cruiser leaves the driveway, they're back out again. They just fucking steadily. Oklahoma just had, in fact, a bunch of them turned up fucking dead in ditches and shit.
Oh, yeah.
We're probably from that truck stop. Wouldn't surprise me, but there's a lot of investigations going on, and cops are always asking truckers, "Have you seen this girl? You know, have you seen her? Have you?"
And legalized and regulated.
I almost want to look at her and go, "Not only did I see her, officer, I experienced her." Yeah, but
now I put her back. Now I put her back.
I put her back. I sent her on her way with a bologna sandwich and a thing of chocolate milk.
I am a gentleman and a scholar.
I gave her some Arizona iced tea and some Skittles.
And yes, officer, I did wear a condom.
You'd be very proud.
Yes. I didn't want to give her a disease.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Any final thoughts for this week, guys?
All I'm going to say is it's so great to hear from you guys and see you all again. And I've missed you. I think about you fellas each and every day. Yep, in some indirect way, you know, or thought runs through my mind, or I'll think about something and say, I wonder what James would think of this, you know, stuff like that. But like I said to you, James, you know, I know you have your up and down moments, but, you know, anytime you want a conversation, I'm pretty much an owl, so I'm always around. And, you know, feel free to consult or just even chat, all right? Doesn't matter what the issue is. I got nothing better to do with my time. I'm just working on a lot of cars right now for people in our building that can't afford a $90 an hour mechanic. So I'm making a little bit of change on the side, and just odd hobbies. And this week I've just been packing stuff to go up north. So come Sunday morning, 3:00, Sheila and I leave here to hit the ferry up in Tobermory to go to Manitoulin Island. So we got to get there by at least 7:30 because the ferry leaves at 8:50. And that takes us into Algoma District to the lodge we're going to. We're going to hotel the first night, and then Monday morning we're right down to the lodge and flying out. So, yeah.
That sounds awesome, man.
Oh, yeah, middle of nowhere. All the tourists are gone now. All the kiddies are back to school, and the boat traffic So, and it's all inclusive. Everything is in our bait, our worms, all our meals and food, our shore lunches. It's all there. We just got to bring our fishing equipment and extras and stuff like that. And we got after that's done at the lodge, we got 1, 2, 3 hotels booked for the rest of that week.
Nice.
And then I'm going to my cousins in Barry's Bay on October 1st. So it's our big vacation. I know Sheila's looking forward to it too. She's just so exhausted this year. But yep. So that's why you won't be able to see me in the next little while. Like I said, I probably won't be back any earlier than October 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But I will still have my computer with me. We do have Wi-Fi up there.
Okay. Well, good.
I can be reached.
Awesome. All right, Dax.
Wi-Fi signal up there is good enough for things like this.
All right, Dax, I'll turn it over to you now. Any final words?
I finally got $10,000 in the bank. Precious metals.
Winning.
And yeah, I'm pretty okay where I'm at. So yeah, not too much to say on my end.
Right on, brother. Well, just keep working and making that money. You'll never regret it.
Amen.
Save, save, and save.
All right, nice. Well, yeah, just all like Darren said, it was really great seeing you. Let's try to do this thing next month. Together. Eventually we'll all make it. It sounds like a good goal to me.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well,
this was a great session. I really look forward to this. When you mentioned it today, I was elated.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll see you next time on another exciting episode of Shitlords.